Hi everyone and welcome back to Sonic Academy with me, Chris, and young Philip.
Hello, everybody.
This is a plug-in first look. We're going to look at a new synth, Dune 2. It's from makers Synapse.
Yep, they had Dune 1, obviously,
Yeah.
which was pretty cool. And Dune 2 is very cool.
Yes.
So,
It's not backwards compatible, we must point out. They're German, and it's just landed in this week. We've had a little play with it, and
Yep, so far pretty impressed.
yeah, it's quite nifty. So
So let's have a look at what we can do. So we'll start off by sort of explaining how the oscillators work. 'Cause that's probably the most interesting part. So you have 3 oscillators here, 2 of which are kind of supersaw oscillators.
stacks, I think they call them.
Stacks, yeah. You can switch between VA, wavetable, and FM, and no matter what mode you're in, you can create up to 32 stacks, creating massive density. So for wavetable, we can and FM we can do the same. So it's pretty cool the way you can do that. It's very handy. And you've got 2 of those. And then you've got a third one, which is, I guess, a sub, or you'd maybe use it as a sub. It's just a single waveform, doesn't have the stacks, and then it has some options for noise here. And all these oscillators are controlled with the faders here. So you've got oscillator 1, 2, and 3, then you've got your noise, and then this function here is ring modulation, which multiplies the
Oscillator
first
1
2
and 2,
oscillators,
yeah.
and creates an interesting sound. So I'll just, so if you want to add a bit of dirt or grit, so nothing on 2, so I'll need to. So very cool. You've also got, I'll just get back to an initial patch here. You've also got sync. On both those oscillators, so that's pretty cool. So your VA one has got your standard saw, pulse, and triangle. And then wavetable has a bunch of different wavetables, which you can switch positions.
Wavetables are good for what type of sounds?
Pads and stuff.
Pads for evolving to the pads.
Yeah. And Massive did a lot of stuff with the sort of formant filters. There's not too much formant here. There's a bit of a not quite modern talking, but
yeah. And that created a lot of those dubstep-y womp.
And then we've got FM. So standard FM setup, you've got 2 shapes you can use, or 2 routing settings.
Serial and parallel.
Yep, so we can create some nice stuff. You can obviously modulate the settings to create some. I'll just quickly do. We did a tech tip on garage bass.
Yeah, yeah.
So we can FM amount. Where would that be? So we want to modulate from the MSEG 1. We'll get to all that in a minute. So FM amount 2. How much is that? Change the amount.
So you're getting that attack, knock.
Yeah, so you can get.
So from that alone, from having virtual analog oscillators, wavetables, and an FM section,
Yeah,
it's pretty versatile.
Very comprehensive, yeah.
The big selling point with this is the amount of oscillators that you can have going.
Yes, so for example, you could have all this set up. You could have an FM bass, and you could have, say, a saw with a couple of. something on this one as well.
+1 in that.
Yeah, was there?
Semi.
No, it's just G tune. Why is that?
I think a semi's at +1, is it?
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Yeah, sorry.
There you go.
Bit of noise there. So we can add a filter. Let's get our low pass filter. So you'd think that's pretty good for a synth. You know, you get 3 oscillators. It's nice. You know, you can, do a lot with that. The amazing thing about this is you have 8 of that.
You can explain to me again.
So this whole section here can be duplicated up to 8 times in 8 layers.
Okay.
So if you think of like silence, the way it had, it's 2 oscillators. Then
Part
you hit
A.
a button, part A and part B.
Yeah.
This has got something similar, but times 8. So you can control that down here. So we're currently working in layer 1. If we switch to layer 2, it's like a whole
other 4 oscillators.
Yeah, actually, you need to turn it up. So you've got your option here to turn it up. We'll turn it all the way up to 8. And when we switch to 2, it should switch, or it's just copied everything to all those. So let's do 2 just for the meantime. And we'll solo this one. And we'll do something different. Let's pitch this up. Pitch this up as well.
Just so we can hear it.
Yeah, make it a super saw.
So we're now adding in the densities 32 oscillators in this one oscillator, the stack.
Yeah.
On top of previous oscillators.
Yeah, so we've got this.
So there's the potential for 500 odd oscillators per note.
Yes. So we're still soloing voice 1. Now it's voice 2 in behind now. You can see when we switch, they're totally independent voices, independent filters. And our CPU is still at like 3%. So there's some sort of magic, I don't know, some sort of...
I think this comes with its own computer built in, It's
yeah,
like
some mystical powers happening in behind.
You can also assign different filters to each of those stacks.
Yes, so we've got a low pass 4. We'll put an acid low pass on this one. So totally independent filters. If you wanted to control those as a group, you can hit all.
That gives you global control. That sort of chains them all together.
So very, very fat. We'll just spread that out there.
More spreads on the unit.
Yeah, so that's separating our 2
layers
out into left and right channel. Pretty massive sounding.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of oscillators. And each of those oscillators, or each of those the unison voices can be assigned to effects 1, effects 2, or the ARP independently.
So there's unison layer 1 is going to an ARP, unison layer 2 isn't, it's being a held note.
Yeah, so, and unison layer 2 will go to the effects bus 1, so we'll turn on, say, chorus and delay and reverb. So there's a lot of versatility there.
What do you think of the effects? You've been through the effects, have you?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing spectacular there, but they do a solid job. The reverb sounds nice. The delays are comprehensive. You've got a lot of options for different types of delays. It's nice phasers.
Yeah.
I would have maybe liked to seen some more off the wall effects, you know,
Yeah.
something like Massive, you know, they've got a bit more, you've got some nice enhancers and various.
Sort of grungers. Things
Yeah,
that,
I mean, there's quite a good variety in the distortion mode. You've got, you know, crunch, grunge, triad-amp, you've got good bit crushers. Bit crusher was not quite as nice as maybe Ableton's bit crusher or Massive's weird, you know, it's some nice overtones.
while you thought the filters were comprehensive and good, they
Yeah,
weren't.
filters sound excellent. It's, you know, not a kick in the arse off the likes of Diva. Using the sort of ladder filters and the ceiling key filters from an MS-20. Obviously the old Dune filters, and you've just got sort of a clean multipass. I would have liked to seen, you know, vocal filters, some various different types.
Comb filters and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, just something a bit different.
And what do you make of the layout?
Yeah, I think initially it just takes a minute to get your head around the sort of voice system, but once you get, you know, your head around that, it is very easy to operate. It's all nicely laid out. All works very well. You've got a nice mod matrix, so you can, you know, easily assign virtually any control, including the arpeggiator, to different notes, and you've got a constant if you want to say, for example, just bring up a filter or something. It's not modulating, but it's like giving you extra control on top of an amount of control or something like that. Okay, and then you've got your arpeggiator. There's a few different modes. You've got step sequencer mode and MIDI mode, so you can actually import a MIDI file. We've got a trans arp in here. Put it on everything here. So that's a MIDI file that I actually loaded in just from Ableton, saved it out as a MIDI file on the desktop and then loaded it in. And then there's a bunch of patterns there that are just... And then you've got step sequencer mode, so you can actually go in and make patterns yourself.
up to 32 steps there, yeah.
So pretty comprehensive. It's a bunch of different modes as well. Chords, chord mode. Obviously plays a chord. Silent mode, you can use that to trigger the mod matrix. So it doesn't play any notes, but you can use note velocity and note number to adjust parameters. And then we've got dynamic, which we couldn't quite get our head around. It's
it was meant that you should be able to change the notes in real time.
Yeah, from a polyphonic MIDI sequence.
But we just couldn't.
It sort of worked a bit, but we couldn't figure out what it was doing. Playback mode, it just plays back exactly what you're... So if we have it in MIDI mode, for example, and we get a load of MIDI file. It's a shame that the loaded MIDI files don't... Maybe if I did a restart, it would load in.
I suppose the other thing that it maybe slightly missing would be any... Do you feel it needs any macro controls or?
Macro controls would be cool, I guess. Yeah, that would be handy. Didn't touch on the LFO. Got 3 LFOs as well. So, but you've also got the multi-segment envelope generators. Not dissimilar to the GM Vin Anna. Double click to create nodes, and you've got curves in there. I would have liked to maybe seen a different option for the curve. They all seem to curve the same
sort of linear curve, so they're not, or sorry, not linear, logarithmical.
Yeah, but you can't adjust what way you want them.
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting, you know. It's a unique feature, I suppose. And I think that is pretty much
except for the most important bit,
which is
how much does it cost?
$179 US, or $169 US, and 79 to upgrade from June 1.
And is it definitely a worthy synth?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like it a lot. It's definitely CPU's low. You can get lots of nice stacks. The filters are nice. The envelopes are nice. So for bread and butter stuff, it absolutely does the job. And then you've got a lot of scope for making. I think it's especially for pads, because the CPU is so low, you can really do a lot of stacks and
just get those really thick, lush
pads.
There you go, guys. A really cool, solid synth.
Value for money.
Yeah.
Normally I like to be paying sub £100 for any plugins and synths, but I would say this is worth every penny.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I would say, what would you say in pounds? Is it probably
120
quid?
Yeah, 120 quid, something like that. But yeah, I mean, if it's kicking around the Silent mark, and I think it completely blows Silent out of the water. I can't think of a single thing in Silent that's better.
Yeah, and this can stack up to, they claim with Note Polyphony you can have over 8,000 oscillators going.
Yeah,
so that should be interesting to see.
Pretty bananas, yeah. Great synth. So check it out. The demo, I think it's like a 2-week demo.
Yeah.
So definitely download it.
Good. Guys, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you all very, very soon.